You're listening to Season 4, Episode 3 of the Indie Artist Tribe podcast with me, your host, Angela Matamocha. Welcome. Hi there, good people. Hi. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's guest is also a multi-hyphenate. He is an attorney, writer, filmmaker, and founder and director of Stowe Story Labs, a nonprofit dedicated to connecting screenwriters, filmmakers, and creative producers from all around the world with seasoned industry professionals to develop skills and projects within a network of like-minded artists. Stowe Story Labs' ultimate goal is to get television and film projects made and seen. As a creator, today's guest conceived and co-produced The Gun Shop, an Emmy-nominated documentary which premiered primetime on UK's Channel 4's cutting-edge series, then played worldwide. His award-winning short films have screened internationally, and he has several feature and television scripts which have placed in top script competitions. As a practicing attorney, he worked both as a litigator and served as legal counsel to Vermont's Governor Howard Dean, MD. He consults with businesses, nonprofits, and government agencies on mission, internal culture, and complex problem solving. Good people, I bring to you David Rocchio. David, welcome.
I feel pretty overawed by that. That was a nice recital of my biography. Thank you.
Well, my goodness, you've had quite the life. So much experience in different sectors, which I think is so fascinating.
Thanks. Yeah, no, we all take our own paths to get to where we want to be. And I've done some different things on my way to becoming a storyteller.
I have met David and know you through Stowe. What is it that you love about Stowe?
Well, the people, the pulling people together who are trying to do the same thing, which is become a storyteller in whatever phase of life they're in, and doing it from a really organic and heartfelt place. And I remember when you first applied, you have real meaning and purpose to what you're trying to do. And so when you bring people together who are like-minded in that way, no matter what stories they're working on, it's really powerful. And then seeing the successes that we're able to help incubate and contribute to is really fulfilling.
It's such an incredible community. And I'll tell you, just last night, my short proof of concept, this was the first script I ever submitted to Stowe. I went to the writer's retreat last year in Stowe, Vermont, and I met another filmmaker. This is just a comment on the community, I guess. Another filmmaker, Amy DePaulo, right? And she was creating a project, which she shot. And then a few months later, I was in her short film. And then just last night, my short proof of concept screened at a festival where her project also screened. So we ran into each other last night and she came to my screening and I've been to her screenings. And it's insane that we met in Vermont. And here we are in LA and we just bump into each other, and just last month in Carmel as well.
Right. I was smiling because then you both were at Carmel at the retreat in November. And the community is phenomenal. It's as close as I'll ever come to being Mary Pickford, because we're pulling artists, right? Like united artists. We're pulling artists together who otherwise never would have known each other. And there's a spirit that carries the work forward. Melody Cooper, who's now on our board, and she came to us in 2017 with a horror script. And she won a fellowship to come that year. And she was blown away because a woman winning a horror fellowship was pretty unheard of then. And she's now killing it in her career. But she met Austin Case, who came, I think, 2 years before her, I think in 2015. And she just had a get together in New York City for Stowe people. He went and they hit it off. And she executive produced his short, which is just finishing its festival run. And they met through the community. They never were in a program together. And I know Brian Padian in Oregon has crewed with people from the labs he's met through the community. Some of them he met through his either the Facebook group or their community page on the website. So that really empowers me that we're actually making an impact on people being able to get their stories out into the world. The events themselves are just really entertaining and exciting, and doing the interviews and sitting with people and having a cup of coffee at the end of the day just gives me great joy. And David Pope, who's my collaborator, when he and I put the agenda together and finish the mentor list, we don't build the mentor list completely until we know who's going to be there for participants. And then we put the peer groups together and we set up all the meetings. And when we finish that process for each program, we don't say we're done until we both say, yeah, I do it. So we go and feel like it's a good program and we're ready. And I feel we hit that mark, and I get a lot of joy from it.
You do, you really do. And that's one thing that's so interesting. I've been to three separate programs so far, and each time the set of mentors I get are so different, but they're perfect for that project. And then the peer groups, which I think is it's incredible. And for me, what I love about the retreats in particular is that you walk away, for those that are listening, with six sets of notes. Six. Your
Right?
peer group and three
Yeah.
mentors.
Right. I was doing the math in my head. I'm like, why six? But you're right. Yeah, six sets of needs. Yeah.
Which is the perfect action, I think, to take if you are working on a project and you want to take it to the next level, but you just need that that final set of very effective notes. Every time I've gone to Stowe, it's been so valuable, so valuable.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh, How did you decide to even create the program? Like, you met David. Was this always something in the back of your mind that you thought, oh, well, one day, or to just sort of sprout organically?
No, it was organic. I was ending my legal career. I was Howard Dean's legal counsel for the last half of his term-ish. Um, and I'm just doing the math in my head. I was his deputy counsel and then his legal counsel for the last 5 years of his term. I don't remember how long he was governor. I think he is the longest serving governor ever. So that's a long diversion. But when he was telling me he wasn't running again, he was talking about what he was going to be doing next and me being involved. And I was like, Governor, I'll stay till the end, but I'm not going to practice anymore. So I used that as I told my wife I'm having a constructed midlife. I'm going to use this time to evolve myself and become a writer and filmmaker. And along that path, I made some short films. And along that path, I went to Cannes with a short film, which is where I met David because he was running a workshop. And if you have a short film at Cannes, you get free coffee and free workshops. So I drank a lot of coffee and a lot of workshops. And then I had a feature project at Cinemark in Rotterdam at the Rotterdam Film Festival. And David runs the producers lab at Rotterdam. And we ended up in the same hotel coincidentally. So we got together for dinner one night. And I had gone, at that point, I had done the Strategic Partners program in Halifax at the Atlantic Film Festival. I had done work I did at Cannes. I'd been an observer at the Berlin Alley co-production market. Because if you're an American, it's hard to get into those with a project. But I was really honored to be there. And I'd done a few other development projects in Europe, but I'd not seen anything like that here. And I started the labs because when I pitched it to David, I'm like, Jackie's going to kill me if I keep traveling so much. So let's do one in Stowe. And my idea was we'd have a lab in Stowe in the fall. It started in September. And just invite regional filmmakers to get together and work on projects. And it was that for like 2 years. We had 16 people the first year. We had 24 people the second year. And by the third year, we capped it at 50. And we still run it in the same place. It's at the current, what's now called the Current. At the time, it was called the Helen Day Arts Center. But we've been there since I had the idea. I pitched the idea to the then director of the Current. And he literally took his key off his key ring and handed it to me and said, that sounds great. Have fun. And we office share there. we're actually moving out at the end of the year because we've gotten too big and they've gotten too big. So we're moving into a different office. We're still going to run the program there, but my
Okay.
technical desk is going to move to the Stowe Area Association, which is the marketing organization for the town. So we're going to end up that over there for a while. But we had this idea that it'd be a good idea to have a lab in Stowe. My vision always has been the United States lacks a funded development agency like most countries have, Spain, Ireland, BFI. I mean, there's many examples from other cultures, Telefilm Canada. And the US doesn't do that for independent filmmakers. So I thought we can create a nonprofit presence. And pretty soon it became worldwide. We had our first Australian our third year, and we've always had an Australian. We don't spend money on marketing in Australia. So word got out. People like the community. They think the programs are valuable. And that's how it all started. So it wasn't a grand vision. It was an organic process.
Wow, that's really beautiful, you know? It's really beautiful. And it is incredible how many people I've met from different parts of the world.
We get about 600 applicants a year, and our slots up. Can I just talk a minute about what the programs are?
Absolutely.
So we do the anchor program is the Stowe Lab, and that's what I described what we created. The lab is a 4-day intensive where you truly are just workshopping, and it's a lab, right? So you're experimenting on the ideas you have for a story, and we try to bring knowledge to the program so you can understand what's going to happen to your script when it goes out in the world, and you're going to work on how you talk about your script in the world, and you're going to talk to your peers about the story, and you're going to learn through that process some advice we have on giving and receiving notes. And you're going to hear from the mentors about what to do with the note, and you're going to hear from the mentors about how to talk about the story. You're going to get from the mentors feedback such as the way you describe the story is not what maybe is on the page. And you're going to learn about structure a little bit. And it's an opportunity, like I said, to take it apart and play with it in a safe and comfortable environment. And so you should leave the lab. The labs are intense, 4 days full on. And I say when they start, let it wash over you. There's no test, so you don't have to try to memorize. Just let it wash over you. You should leave the lab with a very strong sense of what you're doing with the project and a good idea of what should happen next and a real ability to talk about it conversationally. So if you asked me about my film, I could tell you about it and we would end up talking. It wouldn't be like oral argument in a court. It would be a conversation. And we call that conversation about story. And then the retreats, as you described, are really expansive. So the lab is 50 people. It's go, 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 go. The retreats are 20 people. There are more mentors. You get 3 one-on-one script note sessions with each mentor. I'm sorry, with a mentor. So 3 mentors give you 1 hour each. Then you get the peer groups and some content. But as you know, the days are more open. And we have our 3 R's, right? Write, reflect, revise. Knowing full well, right, does not start with an R, so it's a joke.
But yeah.
And right, and so as you know, you have time, and we encourage you to use the time to work on the project. So they're very different. And now, because of the wonders of Zoom, which we learned during the pandemic, we run the long form program. So the Feature Campus, which is a 12-week online writing program to generate a good first draft of a new project. In the writer's room, which is similar for TV. Excuse me, David runs both of those, but Derek Simons does the first 4 week of the writer's room. Derek invented and ran the Sinner. He was a showrunner and creator on the Sinner. And so he breaks down his own show for 4 weeks, and then for the next 7 or 8 weeks, you write.
What has surprised you the most out of creating these programs and having people there that you just didn't sort of see coming?
The community is the biggest one. I never thought about that it was going to become sort of a united artist. People, it's like first week of college or summer camp. It's like a good summer camp dorm. And the friendships that form in the room, and then the community meeting up at festivals or, We had 50 people at Austin who went to dinner together. Um, that part of it, the ability for people to use the network to develop their work and get experience on other people's projects, that surprised me. And it just has become so much more than we initially were just going to do one 4-day program a year in Stowe, Vermont. And we run programs from May through November, from California to Ireland. And we do the program now for the New Mexico Film Office called New Voices New Mexico, which we started in 2022. And so they fund that for New Mexican artists. And we just finished 2023 and they've already asked us to do 2024. So that the expansion of it, I can't say it surprised me. I was hopeful, but that it's become what it's become is really meaningful to me. And that we are functioning in many ways like a funded government development agency. We're a private nonprofit development agency, and that really feels good.
I mean, thinking about it, it's going so well, and it is such an incredible experience, an incredible community. If you were to look in the future, say 5, 10 years from now, how do you see it growing, or what would you like to see happen?
So that's a great question. I just asked my staff that question. There's
Ah,
4 of us. And I've just asked the board that question. We're going to spend the next several months working on that. In my head, we run funded competitions. So we're funding productions, short films first. We have a network of people who invest in independent content, and we bring projects to them that are ready with artists that are ready. And then we get out of the way. So we're not taking any ownership interests in projects other than like a fee to keep us going, but a small tithe, not a equity position or anything like that. And we're mostly fee based. Last year we did $280,000 of direct artist support between fellowships and scholarships.
that's incredible.
Thank you. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
We're going to do more this year, but we're mostly fee based. And I would like in 5 years for us to be no more than half fee based and the rest be sponsor, donor, grant revenue.
That would be incredible. That would
But
be
I
incredible.
have a board and I have a staff. So that's what I think. But
Yeah.
they'll feed into that. But it's a good question because I think we can become an established presence that empowers people. And the big thing for me, the thing that really drove me is I'm not from the industry. I don't have a background in film and television. I went to law school because I needed to get out of my personal situation. Growing up was not the best in the history of mankind. I wanted to have my own future, so I became a lawyer, which empowered me in some ways, but not in my soul. And to be a filmmaker and not be from the community is hard. And people talk now extensively about point of view of the artist. And as you know from the work with us, from the beginning, we've been broadly inclusive. And every year, every program, and I don't know why this is true, 70% of the people are women every time. And that's
That's
not,
interesting.
yeah, it's not purposeful either. It's like at the end, I tally up the sheet and I'm like, yeah, 70%. And we don't spend a lot of time trying to figure out why, because we'll break it. But we're really a broad group of people. And for me, the thing that motivates me in that is we are serving people who would not economically be able to do it, but for working with us. That gets a leg up and gets them going. And that opportunity gap in the world drives me crazy. So if I spend more of my life helping to close that gap in this world, that is really fulfilling to me.
Mm, well stated. I haven't thought about that, but yeah, it is true. There are quite a lot of women and people of all ages too, which I really appreciate, you
Yes.
know?
Yes. As you were talking, I was thinking about it is because the group is inclusive in many ways, including by age. And as we do the reviews of the project, so at each project, all of our readers now are alumni, by the way. All of
Yes,
our readers are alumni. They're all trained.
I've
Right?
read.
Right, I know, and I
Yeah,
just
it's
want to
great.
know all our alumni, and every script gets 2 reads, right? Because
Yep.
it's subjective, so the amplitude between scores can be really it's crazy how one script can have 2 completely different takes. So we do that. We also are all looking at the scripts, although I haven't read I very rarely read a whole script, but I get through the first act on most. Um, but why am I saying all that? A lot of the people in the review team really focus on the script. They refer to the applicant by the script name. So, coffee cup. I really like coffee cup. And I am, well, who's coffee cup? I'm not, I like the script. The story has to be good. It needs to be well developed, at least in a early phase, especially if it's someone who's been working as a baker for 25 years. It doesn't have to be perfect. I focus on the artist. So I'm like, oh, Angela's project. Oh, I really like Angela. She was a pirate and then she became a mercenary and now she's the mother of 10 kids. Like I am all about the artist telling a good story. And in the industry, it's so much more about the words on the page and not the artist. And so I think it's interesting because I think what I'm hoping we're doing is we're helping people who can do a career's worth of really interesting work. So I don't know why I went off on that riff, but something you said. So we end up with a lot of older people who've never done, or people who just are in different industries. Like we had I'm full on rambling now, so I'm going to take another
Go
sip.
for it.
I'm going to
This is
tell
why
you the
we're
story.
here, to chit chat.
I'm going to tell you the story. So we do the fellowships, and we had a fellowship winner. And when we go through the finalists, they all know the finalists. And then I call the people who win because if they're not coming, they're not winning, right? We're not a contest, right? So I want to get on the phone with them and say, you want a fellowship. Here's what it entails. We're really excited to work with you, and start talking about the program. And I called one, and I won't say who it was, but they started to laugh. And so I stopped and I said, I got to gauge this because I'm hearing you laugh and I'm thinking you're not taking this very seriously. And they said, no, you don't understand. I'm a parent in a big city in the middle of America, and I'm a baker at a Costco with 2 little kids. And I've never written anything before, right? So that is what, and another, I won't say who it is, she was here the second year, and I was making small talk with her about she was coming from the middle of America, and I said, "Oh, where'd you fly from?" Because she's not from a town that would have a big airport. So I was thinking, making small talk, like, "Did you go to Cleveland, or did what airport did you use?" She's making small talk, and she said, "I can I swear
Of course.
I um I'm not going to swear. I drove. You drove like 14 hours." And she said, "Yeah, and I quit my job." She was a waitress at a Denny's, and her manager wouldn't give her a shift off, so she could come, so she quit. So I mean, that's empowering, right?
That's incredible.
Yeah, we've been a couple of times now.
Huh. One of the things that I love and I really appreciate about Stowe is both you and David, both Davids, are also writers. You're not coming at it from an I'm up here looking down on you point of view. You guys are in it. You're doing the work yourselves. You are trying to push your projects out as well. What project for you, David, are you most excited about right now?
So that's a really interesting question because I'm sort of at a different place with my work, and I have had an existential conversation with myself about my work for a long time. And in the programs, you'll know I say this, like if you are very singular about your work, it's a collaborative art. And so the meter of how much you're willing to give up is also the meter of how likely it is to get made. So my work has sat for a long time because I'm fairly strongly skewed towards the way I'm trying to tell the stories. And I have very little negative energy about them not getting made. I'd rather make them well. And if they get made that way and I think they're good and they're in the world, that would make me really happy. So I'm not just trying to sell into the industry. I'm not trying to get a job as a writer. I'm trying to get a particular body of work made. So I have 4 or 5 features I'd say are good and ready to go. And obviously, I'll get notes, and I'm open to notes, and it is a collaborative process, but I'm keeping them close. And then I have one TV project that I'm really curious about. And there's 4 of them that are actively out right now. I just finished a short film with Bertha, and we just got a distribution deal on it, so it's not had a festival run. So I don't know what's going to happen with festivals, but
Fantastic.
yeah. So I wrote it, and she directed it, and we
Fantastic.
made it together. Um, and I'm starting another one, although I really don't think I'm going to take the time to dig into it until after the holidays. Um, and the theme in all my work is somebody is confronting change in some way, and it's impacting other people in the story. And it's how they all navigate that change that's foisted on them. So it's not, I mean, I've just described sort of every film in the history of the world, but it's how the character reacts to the change and changes in response to it. And they're all people who everybody can identify with. So if I told you, if I pitched you one of my stories, a typical response would be, "Oh, that happened to my sister," or "Oh, yeah, my brother went through that." And I'm looking for those common experiences that can result in an audience member going, "Huh, I never thought about that from that perspective." And so that's where I am with my work.
Last month in Carmel, we chatted a bit about some of your work. And at one point, you said, I don't know if you remember this, but as far as your projects being out in the world and trying to push them out, you said that you're being very zen about it right now.
Yeah,
Do you remember
I,
that?
yeah, I feel that way. I feel that I know my voice, and I think it's good, but it needs to be navigated in a way so it stays true through the process. And finding the people who will see that is an unpredictable road. So that's, yeah, I am very zen with them all right now. They either will happen or they won't. I'm very fulfilled with the labs. I actually just had to polish one and send it off last week, and I sat and hadn't read it in a while, and I read it. I'm like, yeah, this is really good. So they'll either like it or not, and even the ones that are now being worked on, they may or may not happen. I don't have the kind of energy vested in getting them made that would make me feel sorrow if they don't.
Yeah, the whole Zen aspect just really resonated with me when you said that. And I love the idea of sticking true to what your project is for you and just sort of trusting, having faith that whoever is supposed to find it and resonate with it will, right? There's only so much
Right.
we can do.
The flip side of that is also true for some people. So
Yes.
some people are, I want to live in Los Angeles and I want to be in a room. So write a feature and 2 pilots, do really, really, really good work, be really good in the meetings. And the response to your spec script may be really well done. I can't do anything with it, but I've got this book I've just optioned. I'd like your take on the book. And then you're
Yes.
in the world of writing on assignment. Or if you have a TV show, oh, maybe would you like to come in and meet the showrunner, have a conversation with the showrunner? Maybe there'd be room for you in the. So that's a different approach. And for many people, it's a better approach, but that's not my approach.
Yeah. No, I like your approach. That really, it's like, ah, it just feels
Cool.
good for
Nice.
me, you know,
Yeah.
because sometimes,
So the
yeah.
next time I see you, we'll sit down and have a drink and talk about how we're keeping going with our work, knowing it may never see the light of day.
Yeah, I mean that's the truth of the matter, isn't it? You know? It
Mhm.
just is. Let me ask you this, just for some sort of philosophical fun. do you David, do you feel like you were put on this planet at this particular time in history for a specific reason, or do you feel your being here is just random?
Boom. I mean, that's like we should have we should talk about that question with the drink in hand sometime in the future because I can't say I'm going to do it justice. You kind of got me flat-footed. So a parable. So a friend of mine is a doctor, He worked for a long time as a physical therapist. He ended up doing a lot of volunteer work in Haiti and other places. He's a very empathetic guy,
Mm.
really, really easygoing, really good with people. He ended up being a doctor. He ended up being an anesthesiologist. And during the time of COVID, he was doing like 8, 10 patients a day. And for many people, he was the last person to talk to. He held phones for people who were saying goodbye to loved ones. And I said to Rich, I said to him when he was going through that, I said, I feel to me that you were born and raised the way you were and ended up who you are to be in this situation right now, because you're the best person those patients could have given where they're at. And he said, yeah, I thought about that. So that's the question you asked me. I don't think of it that way. I do feel my stories are particularly resonant right now because of what's going on in the world and needing to be a little more introspective and thoughtful. I do think that. I don't know whether they're going to get made. I do think the labs are valuable. I think people finding community through the labs has been really meaningful. So I guess in some ways, what I'm doing right now is particularly resonant now, but I don't think of it the way you said it.
I just like
What do
to
you
ask
think? What do
that.
you think? What do you think?
It's funny. I've never put it onto myself. I like to hear other people's
Yeah,
responses. No, I do think I'm here for a reason. I do.
I do.
I believe most storytellers are. And, at the end of the day, really everyone does have a story. One of a question for you, for people that are listening, in your experience, in your mind, who is the perfect, not perfect, but what is the right kind of person Stowe is for? Who should apply to your programs? What kind of people?
Well, I'll tell you what we're looking for. We're looking for people who are collaborative by nature, have either through lived experience, so they have a depth of experience that's given them perspective. So what they're writing resonates, it's meaningful, whether it's a sci-fi thriller or the darkest horror in the world or a romantic comedy, none of that matters. It's, are the themes resonant because of the perspective of the writer? And does the writer get why they're making the film? That's really important. And one thing, the song, what's the Beatles song? There are places I remember.
There are places.
What?
Yes, yes, yes.
What's the name of that
What
song?
is the name of the song?
I'm on.
I
I'm
remember. Na,
freezing because
na,
of the
na,
Zoom.
da, 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 na, na, na.
Right. So someone listening will know the name of the song and they'll tell us when they hear this. But um, Paul McCartney was 22 or 23 when he wrote that, right? There are places I remember all my life, the times have changed. Some are worse and some are better. I don't remember the
Yeah.
words. Right. But it's a deeply meaningful song. Johnny Cash recorded it right before he died. And when Johnny Cash recorded it, it's like, whoa, because the perspective of someone looking back on a life. So why do I
Yes.
say that? If a 22-year-old applies with that story and they can articulate why they feel they can tell a story about somebody looking back on a lived life, yeah, sure. So that's what we're looking for. A really good story from whoever is crafting it with the knowledge and understanding of the perspective and good motivation and character that demonstrates to us they're going to be collaborative. And we are pretty good at who we pick. So, well, you know better than I do, but it feels to me like the group typically comes together around some similar traits. And then it's like that first week of college kind of experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. You picked the best people. I've met such everyone from the team of Stowe, all of you, to everyone that you bring together. It all works. It's all so freaking incredible. One of the last things I want to talk about are the deadlines for upcoming classes. I believe
Okay.
January 10th. At the time that this will be released, I believe it will be the first week of January. So that does give people about, a week and a half or so to apply for either the feature campus, which is the online 12-week class, right?
Yes.
Or the television.
Writer's room. Yep. So I wasn't texting. You saw me looking down at my phone.
That's
The
okay.
song was In My Life, which was on
In My
Rubber
Life.
Soul, which was on Rubber Soul. So the next deadline for the labs and retreats, our core programs, we have 2 labs, one in June, one in August. June in Stowe, August in Birmingham, Alabama, during the awesome Sidewalk Film Festival. And then 4 writers retreats, one remote in July on Zoom, and then one in Stowe in September, Connemara in October. California, although it'll be in the Southwest in November. It may move a little bit outside of the borders of California. And then we also have a producers lab in June. The labs and the retreats, that application is open now. One application for all those programs and all the fellowships and scholarships and all that. So it's like a sorting hat. We look at everybody and divide them up. That deadline is December 25. But for the short form programs, our core programs, December 25. A different application for the feature campus or the writer's room, which is the long form online writing program. The deadline for that is January 10th.
I took the feature campus. It was so cool. This year, earlier, and I brought that same script to the retreat. And what was so cool, and the way that David Pope runs his course, he says, as we go through this program, by the time you finish your feature script, it's not going to read like a typical first draft. Right. This is going to read like a second, maybe third draft. Cut to months later at Stowe, and one of my mentors, that's literally what he said to me. He said, this feels like a very polished draft. I said, no.
He liked it. Bob liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was just so cool because David specifically said that. It's not going to feel like a first draft at all. He was right. So
he's very good. Like David has an ability to pull from people in a way that feels very kind and organic, but it's deeply thought out. He's very good.
Yeah, very thoughtful. So, gosh, anyone listening, definitely, if you have a idea for a feature or a television show, up until January 10th to submit at Stowe Story Labs. .org, of course.
StowStoryLabs.org. What a great thing you've done. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, David. This has been wonderful to just chat with you. And thank you, Indie Artist Tribe. Until next time, bye.
And tell everybody they can reach out. See you later.
See you later.